Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. It's time for issue 5's final video, and we're going to be putting our new Infernus Sergeant and his special ammunition through their paces in a cleanse and purge sort of mission, very similar to issue 3. So we've got some reading to do, we've got some new rules to learn, and of course we've got the introduction to the play article itself. And we also learn about AP values. Don't forget, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They buy and sell new and used armies, have plenty of hobby supplies like paints and paintbrushes, as well as gaming aids such as dice and tokens. I'm going to be shopping there myself very soon, as there's a few items I have my eye on. So check them out, there's a link in the video description. That's warbay.shop. Right, let's lock and load. Here we are back with our final video for issue 5, and we've got, of course, all our gaming essentials here: dice tray, our Infestation Sites, as well as our Infernus Marine card, bag of dice and wound markers, so we'll put those off to one side. We can of course add our new dice to that bag, so I'll do that off camera. And of course we have our Infernus Sergeant, Leonidas, the Giant Slayer, ready to prove his mettle in combat. So we've also got a game board, we're going to need that in just a sec. So we've got some reading first of all to do, so we'll adjust the camera and dive straight in. Flicking through our book, we get to our play article, Flames of Purification. A Space Marine never gives up. Only in death does duty end. As the last survivor of his squad, an Infernus Marine Sergeant is cut off and deep behind enemy lines. For a mere mortal, this would be a disaster. For this Space Marine, it is an opportunity to wreak havoc and take burning vengeance on the Tyrannid Swarm. A single Space Marine in the right place at the right time can change history. This Infernus Sergeant could be one such Space Marine. With the rest of the Adeptus Astartes fighting desperately to defend against the encroaching swarm, this warrior has a chance to strike at the infested sector, denying the Tyranids valuable biomass with which to reinforce their frontline troops. This sergeant may be alone, but he has a secret weapon, specially developed fuel for his Pyreblaster, created by the Chapter Tech Marines, to make a mockery of Tyranid armor. If the sergeant is successful in his mission, his efforts will allow the Space Marines on the front line to strike back and finally deal a devastating blow to the Tyranids. If he fails, his battle brothers may well be overwhelmed. So we've got our layout here, Scenario 1, Flames of Purification. A lone Infernus Marine Sergeant has located a key node of Tyranid infestation. He has launched a lightning raid to purge these vital sources of biomass by any means necessary. He will have to work quickly, for even cut off from the main swarm, these infestation sites will defend themselves fiercely with biological weaponry. Gather your datasheets. For this battle, you will need the profile for the Infernus Sergeant. He uses the same datasheet as the Infernus Squad. Also make sure you have dice and a notepad and pen to keep track of the fuel used. How to win. In this mission, your goal is to destroy all 4 infestation sites represented by the battlefield essential cards, before the Infernus Marine Sergeant is overwhelmed. You win when all 4 infestation sites are destroyed. So we've got our map laid out. We have a medium site, large site, armoured site, and the small site, and our Infernus deployment zone. So we'll be setting that up in just a sec. We've got a turn breakdown first, and then we've got a little bit about armor penetration affecting dice rolls and modification. Turn breakdown. Moving and shooting this mission works almost exactly the same way as it did in A Introduction 3, with the addition of the extra armor penetration profiles from the Sergeant's Pyreblaster. Follow the sequence below until the infestation sites are destroyed or the Infernus Marine Sergeant is slain. Space Marine's turn. Move the Infernus Space Marine Sergeant 1 square or run 2 squares as described in Introduction 3. Then, if you did not run, you can make a shooting attack against an adjacent infestation site following the attack sequence laid out in B Basic 1. Before you make attacks, you can improve the AP of the Pyre Blaster as described below. Remove any infestation sites that are destroyed by the Pyre Blaster's attacks. Then make attacks with the infestation sites in the same way you did in Introduction 3. So for example, the Infernus Sergeant moves up towards the infestation site he wishes to destroy. He did not run, so he'll be able to shoot this turn. Single-use profiles. In this mission, your Infernus Sergeant is equipped with 3 canisters of experimental armor-piercing fuel for his Pyre Blaster. You can use each of these canisters once to represent this in your battle. Before you make a shooting attack with this Pyre Blaster, you may opt to change its AP to one of the values seen here. Make note of when you change the AP. You cannot use the same AP value more than once, except the Pyre Blaster's standard AP of 0. Consider carefully when you use your higher AP fuel. You might want to save that for the very toughest of the Tyranid infestation sites. So we've got an example, turn 1 and turn 2 for our Space Marine. So he moves forward, flames the large infestation site, using the -2 AP. Then turn 2, he moves forward, with this one being destroyed obviously. He then decides to move and attack the medium infestation site with the -1 AP fuel. Then we got our victory page there, so I need something to cover it up with. No spoilers. We have a tutorial then for dice and modifiers. In battle, nothing is certain. Recruits may prove to have valor beyond their years, while veteran warriors may disgrace themselves with terrible failures. In games of Warhammer 40,000, the unpredictable chaos of the battlefield is represented by rolling dice. Dice. By now, you should be pretty comfortable rolling dice. Dice are used to determine the results of many events in Warhammer 40,000. When you roll a dice, you're usually looking for a target number. You will only ever need to roll 6-sided dice, also known as d6s, in Warhammer 40,000. When you are told to roll a d3, roll a 6-sided dice and compare the result to the right. It is good practice to always roll your dice where your opponent can see them, and to let your opponent check the results before you start re-rolling them or moving them. Sometimes the dice may not land flat on the table, or it might roll off the table completely. Most players just ignore these rolls and make them again to ensure the results of the roll are clear and unambiguous. So our D3 result, 1 or 2 is a 1, 3 or 4 is a 2, 5 or 6 is a 3, so essentially half your dice value and round up. One of these dice has landed at an angle. The player decides to just roll this dice again as the result is not clear. Dice rerolls. Some units and special rules allow you to re-roll dice you have already rolled for a given test in order to try and get a different result. For example, some rules allow you to re-roll failed hit rolls, making your attacks more accurate. Whatever the case, and however many special rules are offering you a re-roll, you can only re-roll a dice roll made for any one test once. Additionally, you must stick with the result of the second roll, even if it is worse. Modifiers. Nothing in battle is certain. Skilled warriors, advanced equipment, psychic powers, and other assets can help a general to manipulate the odds in their favour. In Warhammer 40,000, this is represented by modifiers, rules that can change the value of dice rolls and the characteristics of your units, both for better and for worse. Modifying dice. You'll find yourself modifying dice rolls almost every time your models are attacked. Generally, you'll be modifying the save roll of your models based on the AP characteristic of the weapon being used to attack them. To modify a roll, you roll a dice, then apply the modifier to the number rolled before comparing the final result to the target number you're trying to roll. Modifying dice might seem a bit complicated at first, but as you get used to your units and weapons, it'll become second nature. It's worth noting that sometimes you can modify saves in such a way that it is impossible to make a successful save roll. Just skip rolling dice in this case in order to save time. So we see here the relic weapon profile of the captain will change the result of any dice by 2, meaning a 2 is a 0, a 3 is a 1, a 4 is a 2, a 5 is a 3, and a 6 is a 4. So for most Tyranids, Any rolls of 5 will be fails. Most Tyranids have a good chitinous armor of a 4+, so they'll get a chance to save if they roll some 6s. Modifying characteristics. In later issues, you'll receive units with abilities that can modify characteristics. For example, the Barbgaunt's Disruption Bombardment temporarily reduces the move characteristic of units that are shot by the Barbgaunts. You might find it useful to keep a pen and paper on hand during your games to keep track of any of your units that are currently affected by characteristic modifiers. If a rule tells you to change a characteristic rather than modifying it by a value, you take this into account before applying any other rules that would modify the characteristic. A unit can be affected by multiple modifiers. If this is the case, apply any modifiers that divide a characteristic, then any modifiers that multiply it, following by addition and subtraction modifiers. If you end up with a fraction, just round the result up to the nearest whole number. Right. Lessons out the way, let's set up for our battle and we'll learn all about our new Infernus Sergeant and his special weapons. I'm going to get some different coloured dice so I know which dice are which special ammo. So we turn back to the special profiles. I'm going to use red for the AP3 as it has 3 letters in its name. I'll use black for the AP2 as B is the second letter of the alphabet. And I'll use green dice for the AP1 fuels. I hopefully should be able to remember that. So now let's set up for a battle. Right, we are all set up. We have small infestation site, armoured infestation site, large site, and medium site. So, our Infernus Sergeant, of course, starts down in the bottom corner. And I think what we'll do, we'll move 1 up. We'll target this, and we're going to use my green dice for the -1 AP fuel. So let's see how many shots we get. We'll take that. It's a 5. So, strength 5, tough 5, we need 4s. Only 2. So we have 2 saves on the infestation site. So normally it's a 5, but with the AP1 fuel, we'll need 6s. We do get 1. So sadly, that site is still alive. So the Tyranids now, each attack with a strength 2 spore. So 4 dice needing 6s. We get 1. So our Infernus Sergeant is injured. Can he make a save roll? No, because it bounces out the dice tray. Seriously. Yes, he can on a 3. That's cool. Back to our Infernus Sergeant. And he is not going to waste another special fuel, so he'll use his base profile. Only 2 shots. Can we get 5s? 4s even. Yes, we get the 1. Our Tyranid will need a 5 to save. He does. Now we got our 4 spores. 6s. Nothing. Back to our Infernus Sergeant. D6 shots. 2 again. We get 1 5, so that's good. No AP, so save of a 5 for our Tyranid. He does again. Oh dear. I think they've learnt from the last time how to use their armour. 4 spore shots from one from each site. Ouch. 2 wounds on a sergeant. So 2 saves. Ooh, 1 spore has gotten through. Oh dear, Leonidas might be the slayed giant, not the giant slayer. Back to our Infernus Marine. D6 shots for 3. Come on, let's at least burn 1 infestation site away before I die. That's good. That's 3 wounds. Strength 5, tough 5. 4s. Tyranids need to make 3 5+ saves. It made 2, but the last one will destroy it. Boom. We now only have 3 spores being chucked out. We can't afford wounds. None, that's good. Over to Leonidas. He's going to move up 1. We only have a 6+ save, so I won't waste any ammo on this. We'll just do D6 normal shots. 5. So it's a toughness 3, strength 5, so we need 3s to wound this. 3 wounds. No AP. So 6 up saves. Made 1, but 2 go through. That's the medium sight toasted. Spores from the 2 remaining sites. 1 goes through. Leonidas, you need to save this. He does. Over to our Infernus Sergeant's turn then. He'll move 1. We're now faced with the heavily armoured Infestation Site. So we'll start by using our black dice for the -2 AP. Oh dear. We get a single shot. That's obviously not going to be very good. And we don't even wound it. So that's our -2 AP fuel wasted. 2 spores from our spore sites, nothing. Okay, finally then, we're going to use our -3 AP fuel. Come on, 4, that's good enough. Strength 5, tough 6, so we're needing 5s. We get 2. And with a -3, we can't really save because even with a 6, that's down to a 3. So we have managed to destroy the armoured Infestation Site. We have 1 Infestation Site left to do. First, he gets his spore attack. Nope. Infernus Sergeant then will run 1, 2. 1 spore, come on, a 6, nope. And he'll move 1, and we'll do our basic fuel, D6 shots, 3, that could be enough. We need 2s because we're more than double, and we get 2. So no saves, that is that site burnt. There we have it. That is a Space Marine victory. Wounded but unbeaten, Leonidas has proven his mettle as a giant slayer. Back to our book for our victory and of course for our outro. So we came close to defeat, but we have managed to secure ourselves a victory for the Space Marines. The Infernus Sergeant watches coldly as the last Infestation Site is reduced to a charred ruin. Without a word, he refuels his Pyreblaster and prepares for a long, brutal journey back to the Ultramarines' front lines. He carries with him decades of experience and, for the first time in this campaign, a glimmer of hope for victory. But he has wasted all his special fuel, so the Tech Marines aren't going to be too happy. But there we have it. Like I said, he came close to being Tyrannid Chow, but he managed to push through and burn all 4 Infestation Sites. So, next up then, what's in the next issue? So, as we know, with this latest delivery, issue 6 is going to be our Barb Gaunts, so 5 new living weapon platforms to add to our Tyrannids. For the paint guide, I'm just going to be focusing on painting 1, obviously. I don't want to paint all 4 on camera, that'll just take too long. I'll paint the others off screen and hopefully get them ready for the battle. Of course, I'll learn a bit more about the Hive Fleets, and we also have a new play scenario which pits the Barb Gaunts up against the Infernus Marines. So it's going to be an interesting battle. Finally then, in issues 7 and 8, we get part 1 and 2 of our first big unit, and this is the Tyrannid Termagants. So we unleash the Swarm, we have information about the Hive Mind, as well as more information about the Imperium. We also get a movement stick with one of these issues. can't remember which one, but it says contents 1 plastic sprue on the bottom of the issue, so that doesn't exactly help. Usually it tells us we got extras. But it's not 1 sprue, we get 2. I'm guessing we get 2 sprues in one and 1 sprue in the other. And bases, obviously. So issue 7 will have the build guide. Issue 8 will have our paint guide as we get the complete unit. Yeah. We'll learn about charging, moving, and measuring. So obviously issue 7 will have our movement stick. So yeah. There we have it. Yeah, back to our front cover, of course. And we'll bring in Leonidas, the victor of the issue, and our brand new model. So there we have it. That's it for issue 5. I hope you've enjoyed these videos as much as I have making them. Be sure to give these videos a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, and drop me a comment down below as well on how you're getting on with your collection. I'll see you next time then for issue 6 of Combat Patrol Carnage. Don't forget to, of course, check out warbay.shop, link in the description. And until next time, stay safe and happy hobbying. Goodbye.